It's Thursday night, and you know what that means. 223 Reloading, Episode 2. Welcome back to the bench. Let's just take a moment to go through a couple of the supplies we're going to use tonight. Tonight's going to be kind of a hodgepodge of things that we're going to get done tonight. We're just going to start with lubing and sizing, and we're just going to see how far we can get tonight, and we're just going to keep the video rolling. So we appreciate you tuning in tonight, and let's get to it. So what we've got going here so far, as you can see, we've got our 20 pieces of brass that we're going to resize and start to load. We're going to use unique case lube tonight to get these guys ready to go so that they don't get stuck in our die. This was probably about $3 or $4 online. So instead of using spray, we're just going to use this. I think that'll work fine. Then our dies that we're going to use tonight for 223 Remington are the Lee pace setter dies. There's 3 of them in there. And instead of using the bushings like we did for 9mm, we just got a set of the ultimate lock rings. Instead of the bushing, it's just a ring. So we'll use that tonight. Also, primers. We're going to use Winchester number 41s, which I believe are actually Magnum primers. We'll talk about those a little bit later. We've got projectiles, Hornady 22 caliber, 55 grain full metal jacket boat tail with a cantilever. We'll use these tonight. And then finally, powder. We're going to use Hodgdon H335 powder, and I've done some research on everything we need to go for specifications, so let's get to resizing. Let's start by getting some lube on these cases, and I haven't tested this yet, so this will be the first time you guys will see what goes on. First time I do it, so it should last us a while, and you don't need a whole lot, so just get a little bit on the fingers. I'm assuming we don't need a lot, but we want to get some inside the case mouth there and just get a nice little film on there, and then we'll set it to the side. Do one more here. A little bit more. And you can see if you're doing a pretty large batch of these, you probably want to use some spray, but since we're just doing 20 here, we're just gonna do that process here, and then I'll do the rest of these 18 and we'll show you how to set up the resizing die. Okay, we got the cases lubed up here, and let's run them through our resizing die here. So in order to get this guy into the press, it is very similar to the 9mm series. So in order to get this in, we have to raise the ram to the top of the stroke, and then you turn the die until it touches the shell holder. Then from there you turn an additional 1/4 to 1/3 turn and lock the ring in place. So that's what we've done here, and it's ready to go. And this is all ready to start resizing these pieces of brass. So as we're doing this, if I find one that has a dent or a nick in it, then I can show you how it's going to resize it. But let's do one here. So the reason why you have to lube these cases is because, unlike the 9mm dies, most rifle dies are not carbide. They're basically just steel. So if we didn't lube these cases, they'd get stuck in the die and we wouldn't be able to proceed. So that's why you got to lube them. But you can see probably not a whole lot of difference from the view here, but I don't know if I can, there's I mean, there's just little dents in some of these that are going to get taken out. If I come across one that has a pretty big defect in it, I'll show you how to resize it, but fairly straightforward, and we'll do the rest of them here and keep on moving. Alright, since we've got everything cleaned off here now, we got the lube taken off and everything cleaned up and dried up, let's get to priming these cases. And this is really the reason for the 20 round test, is that after reaming out the primer pockets, I want to be sure that the primers are seating properly. That way we don't have any loose primers or, you know, anything coming out the back side of the cases when we're firing. So we're gonna seat 20 of them here, and let's get to it. So they're definitely going in easy. They're definitely going in far enough. I just don't know if they're going in too far. Since we reamed out that pocket, there's really not, when we were doing the 9mm, you could really tell when you were seating it. You had to actually give it a little bit of force, but these are going in pretty easy. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue, or if that's just the way it has to be when you're doing rifle cases like this. But I mean, they're seating fine. You can just see, maybe. There's not really any groove or anything for them to sit in, so we're gonna go with it. That's the reason for the test, and we'll get the rest of these primed. Powder's next. So tonight we're using H335 out of Hodgdon for our powder tonight, and the grains we're looking for tonight are 24.8. Once again, we're going to use the Lee Perfect powder measure, and let's get to it. So this is, I'll just go through again what I'd like to do when I'm loading these. I really like to use this funnel. If you use things like these different powder measures and smaller little baskets like this, the powder seems to get everywhere. So I just kind of like to measure the powder after it's already in the case. So I got my scale over here, and I always drop the case on the scale and then tear it out, and then just drop some powder in there. Once the powder's in there, drop it on there. And I've done a couple of these already, and the scale is kind of bouncing all over the place. It's at 24.6 right now. I've got some at 24.8, and I've got some at 25 grains. So I'm going to call that good. That's still above the starting load for this caliber. So, and these are just plinking rounds, so we don't have to be perfect. And what I might do is that I actually have more confidence in this powder measure than I do in the scale. So I might get the balance scale out and then just actually measure some of the powder in these and just drop it in there and measure it just to see. But that's what we're going to go with for now. Next up is bullet seating. Here we go. Tonight we are going to be using the Hornady 22 caliber 55 grain full metal jacket boat tail with a cantilever bullet. We've got 20 projectiles here, and this is what they look like. For those of you that don't know, in that shoot 22, this is the exact same diameter projectile that comes out of a 22, which is pretty interesting. This one's just obviously got a lot more powder behind it and a lot more velocity. So what we're shooting for tonight is a case overall length of 2.20. And we've got the Lee bullet seating die for 223 Remington in the press. And we've got it all lined up, ready to go. Let's see what we're reading. .208. It's exactly what we want. So here's our projectile in our case, primed up, ready to go. Last thing we got to do is put a light crimp on this guy. Okay, final piece of the process. Here we go. We got to throw a crimp on there. Got this guy loaded up into the die. It's all screwed up, ready to go. Push it in there. This thing's all ready to go. Put it in the done pile. Do a couple more. Beautiful. 20 rounds, 223 Remington. Ready for the range. Next time you see us, that's where we'll be. Thanks for tuning in and sticking around. We appreciate it. Good night, everyone.